A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. Hello and welcome back to Oversharing. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Dr. Naomi Bernstein.
Great to be back with you this week. We were recording this the Monday after the Taylor Swift new album came out.
Yes.
And since she's been, the topic of so many of our Betchicists, or the Eras tour has been, we should probably discuss the new album.
Yeah, I listened to it this weekend, popped in and out. I don't know that I listened to every single song. But interestingly, I liked it.
Okay.
But the kids didn't. I think they're like over it. I don't know if it's...
They're over her?
I think they're kind of like over her.
I could see that. Well, it's interesting, actually, because I think it brings up an interesting psychological concept, because it wasn't my favorite album. There were some songs that I thought were okay. And again, it's only been a few days. And the last album, at my first listen, I wasn't that into it. And then it really grew on me. And now I like a few of those songs I really, really love. I don't know if it's going to be the same as that this time. I'm not currently I don't have the urge to put on any of the songs like now.
Right.
But maybe that'll change. So disclaimer, as of now, I'm like, I think it's like fine. So I kind of agree with with the kids.
Yeah.
But I think it brings up an interesting topic, because I was talking to some people about this and I'm kind of like, is she just like really happy and now her art sucks because there's just not as much depth and like intensity to a happy artist?
Yeah, I think there's something perhaps to that. I mean, like I said, I liked it. I thought it wasn't like, I think the music wasn't as maybe catchy or like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what it was that the girls didn't like about it. Maybe they're just, looking for something new and it wasn't different enough, or, but yeah, I think there's something too when you're not in pain. It's like there's less of an intensity in there. So maybe
Right.
it's kind of like just, okay, I'm happy. But I think the key with her and why if she does a tour on this album, which I don't know if that's in the works or what, it's still going to be, my prediction is just as crazy as the rest of them, is because she does this perfect, like, she does a perfect like psychological manipulation of her audience, where she gives you just enough that you know enough about her to kind of guess what it's about or envision what's going on. So you have a picture in your mind, especially with this album. Like, everyone knows it's about Travis Kelce. Everyone knows what he looks like. Everyone knows like a bit about their story. So you know enough to be like, I think I can figure out like exactly what she was thinking and feeling.
Right.
But it's not so obvious that she's saying all of it. And so you're brought into this like mystery that you're feeling like you're solving, or there's like a satisfaction to like figuring out what she's thinking and feeling and what's really going on in their relationship. And
right. I mean, I think this one is like a little less. Again, I agree with you, but it's like a little more obvious,
right?
Which again,
it's just like, we're in love and we're gonna get married.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's almost like better for the casual fan, because they're like, oh, I don't need to like know about Taylor's feud from 4 years ago with someone, or like some guy that she was dating in between the two boyfriends. Like, you're kind of like, I know what, if you're like a superficial Taylor fan, which it's kind of, I think the two of us probably would, there's a spectrum, obviously.
Yeah.
I think you're probably like, great, I know everything she's talking about.
Right.
It's pretty surface. It's not like I have to be like the number one encyclopedia of Taylor Swift to interpret these lyrics.
Right. But yeah, I think her super fans, like, even there was one song in there, or a couple maybe, that were like, she's pissed at someone and she's getting them back in a song. And I think that juices people up. Like, who's she talking
and she
about?
does that.
And yeah. So like she's a psychological genius in that she knows how to give people just enough to keep them wanting more, to keep them curious, to keep them like clicking kind of
Definitely.
thing.
Yeah. I would say one thing that I feel like the kids I'm a little over is this like the narrative of like I'm so famous and everyone hates me
Yeah.
and everyone's just constantly trying to like it's like not really relatable, I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah,
I'm
it
like
is true.
right. It's like people just all the songs about like people trying to take you down or like not I don't know,
Right,
it
you're
just
like, "No
doesn't
one's trying to
feel
take me down." I don't know, like,
right. This
nobody really
isn't
cares that much, yeah.
this doesn't feel super relatable to me. And I guess, I mean, it's hard because the more famous, I think that's true of any artist, like the more famous you become, the more out of touch with like the everyday struggles of most people you probably get. Whereas like her earlier albums are a little more like, I like this boy and I don't know if he likes me. Or
Right.
do you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Right. Or
now
I
it's
got
like the
like,
producer stole my entire catalog and, like, how do I
right.
get him back? You're like, "Wait, what?" Like
Just like me. Right. Yes.
Yeah, mixed reviews. There were a couple that I felt but it was interesting because I was kind of like I was riding in the car with the kids and I was like playing a couple songs and I could tell they were like, "Can you put something else on? Like, I don't really feel like
Wow.
hearing this." Yeah.
Maybe she is losing her hold on Gen Alpha.
I think she might be. I don't know if my kids and I spoke to a couple other people and um of that. I mean, our
Yeah.
sample size is about 5 right now.
Right.
Kids under the age of 15 that aren't loving it. So, I don't know. Curious to hear others' perspectives.
I thought it was fine, but that could change in a week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like sometimes it is the more, and I think that's just our human brain around anything that's new and different is like we
Mhm.
tend to reject it first and then warm up to it. So I felt the same way
Right.
about the last album, where at first I was like, I don't know about this. And then there's a
Yeah,
couple that are like still on my rotation of
I agree.
songs.
I think I could have done without the song about Travis Kelce's penis.
Yeah, there was a
That
lot
seems
of like, there's a lot of, phallic stuff in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting some on the reg, so
Sure,
she's
yeah, singing about it. Yeah. I just think the phrase I think I saw this somewhere and I agreed with it. It was like a New Yorker review, and it was like, I don't the phrase, like, "open my thighs," which is, like, part of the chorus,
Yeah,
was just it was a lot. I don't it's
yeah.
kinda cringy. It's like a
Well, it's
it's
also
like
because, like I said, exactly it's
right.
almost
There's no
like
mystery to it,
yeah,
like in a regular song where you're like, "Who is that about? I don't know. What's the"
right.
right. It's a little too
Yeah.
on the nose.
Yeah, I hear
Um,
you. It was and there's songs that I couldn't even listen to. The one that's like dick swinging or whatever it was. What was that? Something about
was it
big
father figure or something? I don't
yeah, there
know.
was like a dick reference and I'm like, "Oh gosh, like, that's another topic, which is, I don't know, maybe makes me seem a little bit old and like square."
The profanity.
But like some of these artists, like, Taylor Swift, perfect example, or like these like poppy artists, it's like, that there's a lot of kids like under 16 that are listening. Do you have to say, his dick is bigger? Like, just, I don't know. I guess that's what she wanted to say. It's a little shocking. It's a
Yeah.
little,
As a
but
non-mom, I'm kind of like, "All right, she's like she doesn't have any kids. She's an artist.
yeah,
She's talking about whatever."
she
Again,
wants to
I don't
say.
actually I think it's a little much as just for myself, but
Right. You're like, I'm
um
uncomfortable.
right. But I don't know if I would be like she needs to make sure it's appropriate for
Yeah.
everyone
No, I
who's
get
listening.
that. I get that. I in that reference even, that reference, like, you kind of needed it, right? Like, it packed the punch that she was looking to
Right.
get, but there are some times
The
where they
whole
just, like
song, I don't know if we need that. Yeah.
right. Or, like, sometimes they'll just say, like, F something, like, the F word when it's, like, not necessary. Like, you could use a different word there. I don't know. I'm old. Like, music used to be clean.
When?
I played it on the radio, you know? Or the
I don't
music that they played on the radio, like pop music. Yes, I would listen to like Little Kim and like
right.
that wasn't clean.
Right. You were listening to them on your CD.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Privately. Anyway, we digress. Put them all
Um,
in. Put in all the profanity. Go for it.
yes. And
Express yourself.
if you disagree with our takes, again, we are not the most well researched number one Taylor Swift
No.
fans you will meet. So if we got something wrong, let us know. Actually, don't let us know because I don't care that much. But just let us know if you disagree with our takes. You loved the album, that's fine. The show is all about how to have a reasonable discourse about
Yes,
things you might not see completely eye to eye on. So
totally.
put your crazy comments in the YouTube or Spotify comments. And if you would like to write into the show, you can leave us a voicemail at 646-363-6294, or you can email us at oversharing@betches.com. There's a subscriber episode for October already out. We have 2 a month. You get all the episodes. If you're a subscriber, you get all the episodes a day early and ad free. Or you can join one of Dr. Naomi's therapy groups if you want to get even more involved. And Naomi will tell you how to do that.
Yes, come find us at naomibernstein.com. Lots of groups available for you to join. We have a little bit of a wave of some new people. So if you want to jump in on that wave, come join us soon. It's a really great space. I have a new challenge cooking up for everyone. So if you are currently in one of my groups and you're listening, get yourself ready. Love to make everyone a little bit uncomfortable and then talk about how that all feels. So
Just like Taylor.
Yes, she's made us both uncomfortable and
Yes.
my 12-year-old. So yeah, naomibernstein.com.
All right, let's get into our episode. I will start with the overshare.
All right.
Hi, Dr. Naomi and Jordana. This is my first time writing into Oversharing, but I've been a Betches follower on You Up, Betches Brides, Baby Steps, etc. for years. From dating advice now to postpartum marriage advice, I feel like I've been growing with different parts of Betches. I love that. I'm writing in today because I feel constant resentment towards my husband since we have had our baby. My question is, how should we manage post-newborn expectations and division of labor between partners without feeling resentment constantly? Our baby is now 8 months old and I breastfeed. Breastfeeding is a new level of challenge that I didn't anticipate at all before I had my baby. I just didn't think about how tedious, how isolating, and how mentally draining it can be. The constant washing of pump parts, bottles, having to spend multiple times a day to do it in isolation feels like it's taking up so much of my time and mental capacity. This most recent time that made me write in was a specific instance accumulated from already existing resentment of feeling like he isn't doing enough. I don't know what the best mental framework for me to adjust to is, or if this is actually something he needs to adjust. It's likely a combination of both, but here we go. For context, my husband works as a surgeon, and his job requires a daily commute of about 1 hour each way. He leaves the house very early, 5:45 a.m., and gets back pretty late, 5:30 to 6-ish, depending on his workload. I'm an attorney, but I got approval to work from home for the first year postpartum for breastfeeding. It's great to be able to work from home, but also kind of feels like a double-edged sword as I can constantly become the default caretaker outside of nanny hours. We have a nanny that comes in 8 to 4, so outside of those hours, getting my son ready in the morning, taking care of him after the nanny leaves is all me. Before I had my baby, I worked way longer hours than that, but now the reality is I literally can't outside nanny hours. I feel like I'm falling behind work all the time too. My husband happens to have 3 days this week off unexpectedly. How lovely. Let's find out. He ended up scheduling a game with his buddies at 6:30 a.m., knowing our son gets up at 7 a.m. I don't know how he's managed to get other people
To
involved
play a
in the
game at 6:30 in the
6:30.
morning.
You must
Yeah.
have very good friends. I would never do that.
Yeah.
So what that means is I am still getting our baby ready, even though he can be home to help before the nanny shows up, but he decides to spend his time playing games. A part of me feels like I can't say anything because he was going to be at work anyway. And alternatively, if he wasn't, maybe he deserves the time off given that he has horrible commutes every morning. Regardless, I still feel annoyed and resentful that he didn't consider that. When I schedule fun things, I always had to think about our baby's schedule to schedule around, but that he just goes on his day knowing I'll be there. To give some other examples of where I get annoyed but not sure if they're justified. One, because of the pattern of things like the game scheduling, I end up always feeling like when he takes care of our baby, it's a favor to me. Two, he has never had to take care of the baby alone like I did, so I felt like he never understood what it's like because I had longer leave, so I took care of the baby alone until I went back to work full time. When I went back to work, we had a nanny. So now when he does have days off, we already have nanny coverage. A part of me wants him to experience taking care of the baby all day so he gets it. 3, a part of me almost feels like he has to go above and beyond to make me feel any sense of fair share of work, but I know that's unfair. Sorry, this was super long winded. I guess my question is, how should we manage first newborn expectations and division of labor between partners without feeling resentment constantly? Thanks for all you do. Look forward to hearing your thoughts. I'm sure she's not the only one who has gone through this or is thinking about this. Do you have any patients that kind of like come in about this kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure. I think the hard part, again, is in some ways you have to take the biology into account in the beginning with breastfeeding, right? So, like, the mother is, if you're breastfeeding, which not everyone does, and that does, I think, and I'm not discouraging breastfeeding. Breastfeed, it's great, it's good, all the things. But when you do breastfeed, what I see happening is that it sets the tone in the beginning, and humans are creatures of habit, but it sets this tone in the beginning of like, mother is primary caretaker because she's like, the biggest thing about a newborn is like
Feeding
eating.
it.
Are they
Right.
eating enough? And then they have to, like, it's a huge part of it. So for the first, whatever it is, 3 months, 6 months, a year, you're establishing yourself in that primary role. And then where she's at right now is she's trying to kind of find her way out of being the primary, the person that's always going to be expected to be the
The default.
caretaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, the default. And he's the helper. And she doesn't like that. She doesn't want to be the chef and he's the sous chef. She wants there to be two chefs, which I get.
Yeah.
So that's just a reality that is really hard, sometimes not impossible, but it's hard. It takes communication and specific effort to work around that. And that's what I think a lot of people struggle with, is that's what's going to come naturally if you're breastfeeding, is that the mother is the default parent. And then you have to undo it if you want it to be undone. And that has to be more concrete, specific conversations around what that looks like when he's available. Like if he did have that morning off, it's going to take that conversation of you saying, so excited, you have tomorrow morning off. Can't wait to get some help getting the baby ready.
Right.
Like I'd love to, I don't know, go for a walk by myself or eat
Sleep late.
breakfast, sleep late, have my coffee alone, whatever it is that she's going to have to advocate, I think. And that's what I think a lot of moms struggle with. And I get, because they're like, my husband's also, or my partner's also working really hard. So like he needs time to socialize, and he maybe wants to sleep in one day if he's waking up at 5:45. I'm sure she's not waking up much later than that if she has a, young baby.
Right.
You want to care for your partner. And we've given that advice on here before. Like, you need to care for your partner and care that they're well rested and that they have friends and they're socializing and they're getting their cup filled. But you also have to advocate for yourself. So that, I think, is where people struggle.
Right. And you want to feel like that care is given back to you,
Yes.
which is, I think, what she's probably struggling with, because she's like, yeah, I want him to enjoy his day off, but I also, there's no real day off in parenting. And I think it's tough because, like, obviously, like, there's no, it's not like she, like, this is her job. Like, she has a full-time job and this.
Yeah.
So it feels like she's the one who has to make all of the sacrifices. Not that he doesn't work hard, but like that she has to figure out. And I think that's also true of, like, when she's talking about the scheduling, where you can kind of like wake up one day and be like, if I didn't schedule this nanny, or if I'm not making sure there's coverage, like, no one else would be doing that, which
Right.
is annoying. Yeah.
Like, I want to meet a friend for dinner. Can you watch the baby? It's like, that
Right.
sometimes feels annoying. It's like, of course
They
you're
don't have to
watching.
ask you. Right.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
That's what I think is frustrating. And I think it takes, some tough conversations, but I think it's in how you express it. So think the pitfall that a lot of people fall into is waiting too long until they explode and then they're like angry about it instead of communicating like the more vulnerable emotions, like I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm feeling drained or, whatever that is coming to him. And this 3-day break can be a learning experience and an opportunity for conversation and just saying, like, I was torn, just expressing exactly this. I was torn in saying anything to you because I do want you to, like, I know you work so hard and you don't have a lot of time to socialize with your friends. So I want you to have that 6:30 a.m. gaming thing with your friends. But I also would have really enjoyed a break from getting the baby ready and getting her up and going for the day, whatever it is. Like, so maybe next time you have time off, we can sit down together and kind of explore how you can both fill your cup and also help me fill mine during that time.
Yeah. And if he can't do that or he wants to prioritize his own whatever he's doing, I think the conversation can then lead to, well, what resources can we put into alleviating this burden for me? Maybe the nanny, can we get the nanny for more hours?
Mm-hmm.
Could we work something out where the weekends, you're doing more on the weekends?
Right. Yep. And the other thing that I will say that I talk to a lot of my patients about is this whole like the non-primary parent parenting alone. And I think that is important. Like she brings that up because I think sometimes it does feel like one, it allows them to understand a little bit more what the primary parent is going through. And two, it gives them confidence in being able to do it alone. So that way, I don't know, it's a Thursday night and he gets home at 6 o'clock and you say, you know what? I want to run out for a drink with a friend, or I'm going to go over to a friend's house and we're going to hang out for a little bit, that it doesn't take 2 hours of prep,
Right.
telling him what to do for bath and bedtime and whatever for you to be able to get out the door. Where I do think it is good to make sure that the non default parent knows how to do all the stuff. So that way, when they are home, you can get up and go without feeling like you're hiring a babysitter.
Right. No, that's a great point. And maybe that looks like this Saturday, I'm taking the day.
Mm-hmm.
So call me if you, and again, I think you can give people some, I think there's like a sense of, that person's probably scared they're going to do it wrong and you'll be upset with them. So I think like we could say this Saturday, would love for you to like take your first full day with the baby. If you don't know how to do anything, text me, call me. I'll walk you through it.
Yes.
And that's how you can learn how to do it. And then we'll both be fully aware of how this whole thing works.
Yes. There has to be, and I think again, you don't want to wait until you're so resentful that you're like, how do you not know how to do this? Like I do think,
Right.
and it's nobody's fault. Again, there's biology involved when you're nursing and you're doing most of it in the very beginning where you're going to have to do a little training, a little weaning off, a training program to get them up to speed so that, they're confident in doing it. And I think a lot of times the non-primary parent avoids a little bit because they're not confident. And the last thing I'll say is you also have to let them do it the way they want to do it. Right. So
Right.
what I see a lot is, the primary parent wants it done a certain way. And so then the non-default parent feels like criticized or watched or, kind of like micromanaged. And when you have a full-time job where you're potentially micromanaged, that doesn't feel good either. So
Right.
as long as it's not dangerous, if it's like the wrong sleep sack or like,
The nap schedule is a little off.
yes,
Sure. Yeah.
if so, you've got to let them do it the way they want to do it and not be micromanaging. I'm here
And
to
they'll want to
help.
do it more. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I just think it's good for the child. It's good for the parent. And there's a big change I think that happens, and her baby's still young, but I think with more like toddler age, a lot of times, and I know obviously families love to be together as the whole family, and that's beautiful. But there is something different that happens when you remove that default parent, that primary caretaker out of the equation, that it makes the bond between the other two stronger. It allows the child to trust that this other parent can take care of them and they're not constantly like looking for mommy
Right.
and like wanting. And then you feel like you're getting pulled into, you're doing everything anyway. And the other person's just like kind of standing around waiting for you to take orders.
I think this is very helpful for anyone going through that, or probably, or even who's not going through it yet but wants to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the earlier you start that, the more confident both people feel in it.
Yes.
And I understand it's funny because she's like, I want him to just, because I could see, you know, not having any kids and not being around during those stages, even feeling like the person who the husband thinking like, oh, she gets to work from home.
Yes.
Like, how hard could this be? It's a it seems pretty straightforward. You feed the baby naps, blah, blah, blah. And like, I can understand what she was sort of hints at wanting, which she's like, why don't you try it? And then maybe you'll understand why one would need a break from this.
Right. 100%. I think people do tend to be a little like narcissistic in their thinking where
Right.
he's like, I'm the one that's like sitting on this train for an hour each way or whatever it is. And I'm the one that has to commute and I have this life or death job and, all this kind of thing. Whereas maybe after a day with the baby, he'll be like, oh my gosh, this commute is amazing. It's quiet. I could do whatever I want. I could listen to an entire podcast or close my eyes and listen to an album. Or, he might appreciate his life a little bit more.
Yeah.
And maybe you would too. Like if you take a Saturday and you go out and you're by yourself and you're not with your baby, I bet you by the time you get back, you're going to be like, give me that baby. Like
Right.
like I don't care. Like I love the smell of your spit up. It's amazing. So it might be good to kind of get to walk in the other's shoes a little bit. I could see why she wants that. And I think it is good for them to be able to do that, experience that.
Right. Because then I think he'd understand where she's coming from also more if he's understood just how annoying it probably is at times.
Yeah. It's very hard to ask. Just ask. Ask for what you want.
Right.
Ask nicely. Offer to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freeze some breast milk.
Yep.
Get a little oversupply going. Put it in the freezer. It's his day.
Yes.
You're out.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for writing in. I think this is super relatable. Communication. I know it's hard. You love him. You want him to get his rest. I give kudos to these two. Sounds like they're both working really, really hard and trying to do the best that they can. So this isn't an easy situation.
And this probably is the hardest time, I would imagine, for parents.
Yeah, I
The
think
first year or so.
Yeah,
I imagine.
Honestly, it was a game changer when my kids would like sleep or not sleep in because they still don't really sleep in, but like once your kid can kind of like wake up and entertain themselves for a little bit and you don't have to be like getting them out of the crib and entertaining them like from the second they open their eyes, you'll get there. It will happen. That early morning feels a lot better. Or you get them off to school.
Right.
And that maybe feels like at least they're not in the house and like you're constantly thinking about them and what they need and the breastfeeding and pumping. And also don't be ashamed. Ask your nanny to clean your breast milk parts. Like she cleans poopy diapers.
Yeah.
She can clean your breast milk pieces if you're not already asking for help with that.
Great. All right. Let's do a Betchicist. You want to read this one?
I will read this. Hi to my favorite sister duo. I love listening to you every week and recommend this podcast every chance I get. Here's my question. Since 2021, every family gathering to see my family has been about my sister. We live on opposite coasts and these flights add up pretty quickly. She married into a wealthy family and has had most of her life paid for since she was 22. I'm in my late 20s and have worked really hard to build my career, but it has taken time and living alone as a single girl in New York City is not cheap. This might actually be a two-part question because I know there's a bit of underlying resentment about feeling like I've had to work harder. My sister has not made any effort to visit me despite having a pretty close relationship with daily texting and weekly calls. In terms of traveling to see her, 2021 was all about her engagement. 2022 was all about her wedding. 23 was all about her buying a new house. 24 was all about her having a baby. And 25 has been the year that she's openly said she won't be able to come visit me for at least a few years while she focuses on her baby and trying to get pregnant with her second kid. So the question is it reasonable to ask her to contribute to my flights to see her, even though we're both grown adults with our own careers? It's been feeling increasingly bad spending 400 to 800 per trip to see her multiple times a year, especially when every trip is about her. If I do end up asking her, I think it would need to be in a way that avoids her marrying into a wealthy family. But I don't even know where to start with bringing this up. Hoping this is relatable for others out there. XO, a batch who just wants equal sibling effort.
Okay. So do we think it is reasonable to ask your wealthier sister to pay for your flights to come see her?
I think there's a world in which she could bring this up just by saying, like, this is expensive and I whatever it is, like I have these other expenses or I'm struggling to kind of save for this, that, or the other, or whatever her situation I really would love to come. It would help a lot if maybe you could contribute something towards my flight. I don't think it's crazy. If she's coming to see her twice a year and she's openly said she's not coming for several years,
Right.
I mean, we can discuss that. That's my thought on it. I think there's a bigger issue at play, aside from the paying for the flights.
Right.
Which I mean, if she really needs her to pay for the flights, we can talk about that. But I think the bigger issue is just this general, like this sister's life has taken over their relationship. And it's funny because I'm the oldest in our family. I had kids, earlier. And so I can imagine that some siblings have felt like whoever has the kids ends up like not having to move as much,
Right.
like travel as
Yeah.
much.
And I think, I mean, like, there's like I guess an unfairness in that, but it's also on the other side, it also is sort of like life isn't fully fair. It's sort of like an inherent difference of someone just having a life that has a lot more variables and moving parts than someone else's. So it's like not always going to be 50-50. I mean, even just referring back to the last email, like it's to expect that that circumstances align and everyone's availability and ability to travel is the same isn't like that. It sounds like even before, I mean, to say I'm not coming for a few years because I'm focusing on trying to have another kid, it's a little bit weird because it's like I think like isn't the effort in that just like a monthly sexual
Right, right,
intercourse? Like why would that affect
right,
your
right,
why would that affect your plans?
right.
So it's almost like even like the phrasing of that would be I think kind of irritating to me. I think it's more like the lack of acknowledgement that things things are revolving around her
Yes,
and that she's taking a priority and maybe not, it feels like a more of a one-sided relationship where the other person's life isn't seen as fully valid.
yes. That's the part I think a lot of our listeners could probably relate to, and I think is the underlying issue for them is that it was her engagement, then it was her wedding, then it was her baby, now it's her second baby, and it just feels like everything has to revolve around. And some of that does seem kind of like nonsense, like you said, trying for a baby shouldn't be a reason why you can't travel.
Yes. I mean, if any, I can understand you have a baby, it's harder to travel. That
Yes.
part makes sense. But before, let's go back to before that because I think
Right.
anything pre baby being born, like someone getting married, isn't an excuse for them not coming
Yep.
to travel to see you. Someone getting engaged, someone buying a house. I don't really see how that would impact your ability to visit a sister. That's like a besides move-in day.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. It does seem, I think there's a lot of dynamics where when someone's building a family that takes over the entire family dynamic, the extended family dynamic.
And I think it's interesting because she says they talk like every day and they have a pretty close relationship. Which is good, I think, in this scenario for having this conversation because it's not going to feel like that out of nowhere.
Yeah. I think you could just say it. I feel a little, you know, irritated about having to always, for the last, it sounds like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, always been the one to make the effort to see you. And I love you and I want to stay close and I want to spend time with you. But one, it's expensive. And maybe there is some, I don't know, she doesn't mention it, but maybe there is some like, just because I don't have these big milestones happening in my life, doesn't, it feels like maybe she feels like her life is less paid attention to or important or, you know, this idea of like celebrating all these big things. Like, does that mean that everyone has to revolve every conversation around you because you're planning a wedding and you're planning an engagement and you're planning a baby and another baby? It just could make the sister who's writing in feel a little bit small, I think,
Right.
or unimportant in the family.
Yes, and it feels like the family, everything is kind of revolved around making the sister feel seen in all those choices where they're all going to visit her, and she's, like, seen as, you know and then the person who's visiting, the person writing in is kind of like, there's no real attention being paid to, like, I work and I think that's the resentment also where she's like, she married into this wealthy family, she doesn't really work very hard, I work very hard, there's no catering to me
Yeah.
even though I
Well,
work very hard.
yes. And I think sometimes that is the unspoken resentment or jealousy around someone like this, who's like, she met her person at 22 and now she's just celebrated at every turn for what feels like
Came
not
really
hard
naturally.
work. Yeah, it
Yeah.
came really naturally. You met this person and then you celebrate your love and then you got pregnant and now you celebrate your baby and now you're going to get pregnant again and it's like, meanwhile I'm here kind of busting my butt trying to pay my rent in New York City, working really hard, and there's been like zero celebrations about me, which is, it's just part of our society and the way that our culture is. But I could see why it's starting to get to her, and the money is like, now every time she sees that on her credit card statement or whatever it is, like this
Right.
$600 flight.
Yeah. And again, I can understand I think she could say this to the sister, like, I can understand why now that you have a baby, it's much harder to travel and you're in a routine and it's kind of annoying. But I and I'm happy to come see you, but I would like to see to feel like this is a more reciprocal relationship and that you're doing something to show that you're putting in as much effort as me to keep this relationship close. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's she comes alone. Maybe she leaves her baby with her husband
Right.
and she comes to visit her for a weekend and feels like she's putting in that effort there. They have a sister trip that they do somewhere where they both go.
Right. Those are
And
great
again,
ideas.
yeah, that's if it's not about the money. If it actually is about the money, I think she could say like, I think she should still say that other part, but then also say like, and to be honest, like I can't really afford to come and visit you as much, but I'm scared that if I don't come visit you, we'll never see each other because you don't really travel to see me. And then maybe
Yeah.
she'll offer. It
Yeah.
always feels better if they offer.
Yeah. Then ask. Totally. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a relatable question. I do think these types of dynamics, whether it's friends or siblings, where someone is starting a family and, especially like you said, traveling with kids is hard. And it does end up feeling like whoever doesn't have kids is always traveling all over to see everyone else. And sometimes that can probably feel a little bit like I want someone to come see my life and like kind of lean into my existence as well. So I get this. I think there's a way that you can maybe hint at it and see if she'll offer, or if not, just, I don't think it's the craziest thing to just ask if it really is a financial issue and it is tough for you. But if it's not about the money, I would just share how you're feeling in general. And this is your sister. Like, this is a vulnerable emotion that you're feeling, whether, you just feel like your life isn't being attended to in the same way. I think that's a reasonable thing to share.
Yeah. I wouldn't bring up the wealthy family. I don't think it's
Yeah,
necessary.
not necessary. It just is what it is. She's probably got it.
Right.